Hi, everybody. This is the second video in the series on the NAR settlement, and this is specific to how it will impact you as a home buyer. So, as I mentioned in the last video, the settlement means that we will no longer have the offer of compensation field in the MLS system, meaning while sellers can make offers of compensation to pay the buyer's agents like they do today, it has to be offline in a one-on-one setting and cannot be broadly offered to all buyer's agents. What this really means is that buyer's agents will now have to negotiate um, fees with you directly for their services. One of the most obvious impacts will be that in order for us to show you any house whatsoever, we will have to have a buyer's agreement in place first. Before this, that was not such a hard line in the sand. So if I was just meeting you, or if I knew you and we just wanted to go see a house, I would take you out and let you see the house. And really, we often only signed a buyer's agreement once we got close to you putting an offer in. That is no longer allowed. So from the time we get ready to go see the very first house we have to put a buyer's agreement in place. At times, it may make sense to literally put an agreement in for just a single house, but most of the time, what you're talking about is putting an exclusive agreement in place with a buyer's agent. Now, those agreements are very negotiable. You can negotiate the length of time. You can obviously also negotiate the fee that the buyer's agent will receive if he or she helps you find a house. But that will now have to be done up front. It was always an option to negotiate fees, but it was never really called out as much because for buyers, it was no big deal in that it was coming out of the seller's funds. But now those funds are going to be above and beyond the sales price of the house, and they're going to have to be paid for by the buyer in most cases. As a result, negotiation becomes more important between the buyers and a buyer's agent. One of the other impacts of this is about how this fee really comes out of the funds. And what do I mean by that? Today, the buyer's agency fee, because it's being paid by the seller at settlement, it's part of the sales price of the house. Because it's a part of the sales price of the house, it is basically being financed into the mortgage. So if you're paying $200,000 for a house and a buyer's agent was getting 2.5% or $5,000 on quick math here, the seller was paying that. But when you paid the $200,000 to buy that house and you took a mortgage, effectively your mortgage was for 200,000 plus closing costs and fees, which includes that agency fee. Okay. And then it was being, reduced by however much down payment you had. So it was effectively being rolled into the mortgage. That's no longer the case. So if you buy that house for 200,000 and you're paying 2.5% to a buyer's agent for $5,000 to help you find this house and negotiate the right price, etc. Right now, that's not being rolled into the sales price going forward. So a mortgage company will not allow you to finance it. That's more money out of the pocket. Now, it's widely believed that federal agencies will take some action to make changes given this. But the problem is those federal agencies, none of them move particularly quickly. And so as this begins to take effect in the July timeframe, there is a real risk that for many people, you're going to have more cash out of pocket to buy a house. And that's obviously especially impactful to first time home buyers who may not have the full amount of savings to begin with. So be aware of these changes as you go to buy a house in the market. It may make sense if you're a first time home buyer to get on the market now if you were going to this spring or summer anyway, just because there's a good chance for the second half of this year, there will be some turmoil related to what can be financed and what can't be financed. Um, but just remember, as a buyer, you have the power to negotiate with your buyer's agent, and that process is going to be pulled right to the front from now on. So as soon as you engage somebody to go see houses, they're going to end up signing an agreement with you. As always, if you have any questions about this topic or anything else related to real estate, please feel free to give me a call, 484 442 0295.